So everybody's talking about who will replace Boris next. Well, to be fair, whoever it is will probably be a Bilderberger, and if they're not now, they will be before they get in. He's done exactly what he was meant to do by the people that got him into where he was. Because let's be honest, you wouldn't have actually voted in a bumbling fool like that, would you, really, if you had the chance of putting somebody decent in there? But that's the thing with democracy. We get given the illusion that we have democracy, but our people who are in power now are chosen for us long before we actually put a tick on a piece of paper or whatever. Now, Boris may look like a complete tool, but he does serve the people who demand what he is to do. That is to say, a mass vaccination program, the complete lockdown of a country repeatedly, borrowing huge sums of money and putting the country much, much further into debt than it was before. I think we borrowed, somebody reckoned it was nearly the same amount as the Second World War, but whether that's true or not, I don't know. But nevertheless, it was a rather large sum of money. And we will be paying that back to the Rothschilds type of banking, I should imagine, for, I don't know, 150 years, whatever it is. So the people that got him into the position that he's in are very, very pleased about what he's done. And if anybody thinks that this is all by chance that he's been voted out, it's all puppetry. It's all, what do you want, window dressing. And most people fall for it. The next person that gets in will do exactly what they're told and will run this country into the ground even more, will support mass immigration, will support mass vaccination, will support the next load of shit lockdown that comes. And it really doesn't matter who we get at the moment, because the system is so corrupt that nobody will ever get to the top until they've got numerous amount of, how should we say, things on them. So whether they've got interest in kinks, whether they're interested in kids, whether they've got huge gambling problems, whether they've had pictures of them with prostitutes or young boys, or the list is endless. But nobody ever will get into power until they've been completely vetted and been seen to be a sociopathic, narcissistic, moralless cunt whose only goal is to further their own agenda and the agenda of the people who control them. And in return of selling their soul and being a complete traitor to their country, they get rewarded with huge sums of money and entered into an elite club of wankers who really take great pleasure in making our lives more and more miserable by the day. You ever wondered why every day more and more laws are enacted? Why? Do they repeal the old laws? No. So if this is the case, and with every day more and more laws come, then surely we're heading to a more and more draconian world. Well, we are anyway. So all of this hoo-ha about who will be next, does it matter? In my lifetime, I've never known a prime minister that wasn't bent, i.e. corrupt, that wasn't out for their own selves, who wasn't out to further their own agenda, who wasn't a sociopathic, narcissistic lunatic, and who hasn't continually, on a daily basis, lied to the plebs, the little people, the peasants. I know you lot don't like that, but that's how they see us, all right? They have about as much in common with you and me as Nick Leeson has with sound financing, or Fred West has in building good buildings without being problems in the basement. You get the idea. Basically, these people, they don't see us, right? This is the worker, the voter, whatever you want to call it. They don't see us as human. We are like cattle to them. They have no feelings towards us at all. They can't stand to be around us, and when they do, they put on the political face. But if you ever listen to them when they're hot mic'd and they get away from us lot and they think they're out of earshot, the way they talk about us is unbelievable. And for a photo shoot, take for instance, when they were in Europe, they were all stood 2 meters apart with their masks on, all looking very solemn and, oh, this is a terrible time. And then behind closed doors, they're all hugging and kissing each other, all the masks are off and they're getting pissed up and whatever else. So while people were getting excited yesterday about the big drama, I saw through it. And until there comes a time where people won't take any more and they do bad things, which has happened in the past. You've only got to look at history when When the peasants of the country have been pushed too far, they go rogue. And it doesn't end well for the likes of Boris's class. Now, the actual people at the top pulling the chain never ever get touched. That's a problem, but that's a fact. And Boris and his ilk are expendable to these people. Now, Boris and his ilk think they're not expendable. They think they're the elite. They think they're the be-all and end-all and that they're untouchable. But, well, times have shown that in the past, they actually became the blunt end of a certain way of ruling, if you like. You know, the people went out with their pitchforks and ended up finding these people and lopped their heads off or whatever. Now, I'm not suggesting anybody should do that. However, that's how it ends when you literally take, or you keep taking, and you make the peasants' life miserable and you make them skinned, etc., etc. Now, we are heading that way. We're getting taxed upon taxed upon taxed upon tax. We're having more and more of our liberties taken away from us. All of the things that are put on this God-given earth are then being seized by these globalists and then sold back to us, which is fucking amazing if you think about it. And we're putting up with it. And as I drive around this country, I can't help but think it's being completely ruined and turned into a Middle Eastern sort of African, whatever you want to call it, dumping ground. And it's only going to end in tears. And I feel that, you know, what I'm doing here, these videos, are pretty futile because most people don't get to see them. But I'll do them anyway. But you just think, how do people not see this? Truth is, they do. And that's the sad thing. But they think, I'll just say nothing. Somebody else will start something. And when it looks like it's fairly well set up and it's going to go ahead and it's all secure and that I won't back a losing horse, then I'll get involved. And that's the problem. But there you go. Anyway, this site is eerily quiet. In about half hour, this place will be absolutely flat out and horrible. But it is quite peaceful here at the moment. Anyway, happy Friday to you. Did you notice yesterday was 7-7 and that passed without absolutely any fanfare that I can think of? Interesting, really. 7-7, the false flag, fake attack on the country by its own leadership, right? Now, that's a bold claim. But it's turned out that the people that they blamed it on weren't actually fuck all to do with it. And this false flag went ahead just so that we could have our weapons of mass destruction war, which was planned many years in advance. The war on terror. Can you remember that? The big war on terror. Well, that was planned years ago, before the actual 7-7 attack and the 9/11 and all the rest of it. But that then did forge the way ahead to go into the Middle East and disrupt it and take out these people that then wanted to change how they dealt with selling their oil, which would have crippled the Americans, well, the petrodollar, the Rothschilds. And so, yeah, amazing. And nobody bats an eyelid. And everybody that I see goes on about sort of Tony Blair being a war criminal, which indeed he was. I mean, the weapons of mass destruction turned out to be a load of bollocks anyway. And the bloke that came back that said there were no weapons of mass destruction incidentally got suicided. Yeah, but nothing happened. We know they did it, and yet nothing happened. And this is the problem again. When people accept tyranny and do nothing about it, then you're only going to get more of it, aren't you? I mean, can you imagine what they thought? Well, that worked. How much money did we make out of that? And what did we do? Well, we destabled the Middle East and managed to send that lot in our direction, which will then flood this country full of migrants, which is why all of these houses are being built. Think about it, right? If we, as a white people, right, because this country was at one point predominantly white, and is at the moment, but how long, I don't know. If we were a declining population, why would we be building all these houses? If white people predominantly over the years had less and less kids, because that is the fact, and say, for instance, a lot of people were just having one child or no child, then our population would decline. So therefore, there would be no need for these houses, would there? And yet everywhere I go, new houses are popping up. Makes you think, doesn't it? So if you're inviting a million people, allegedly, a year over the channel, that's just via the channel. God knows where else they're coming in from, right? And that particular group breed like fuck, well, then there's going to be the need for more housing, isn't it? Who makes money out of the housing? Well, you think about it. Big banking, isn't it? And you've always got to make sure there's a housing shortage, because when there's a shortage of something, you can put the price up, like fuel, allegedly. So this flooding our country full of people from overseas was not by chance. And they saw years ago that with a declining population, I mean, take for instance Ireland. Ireland's declining population was a massive problem to them, allegedly. And they were starting to panic. So if they had a population of, say, for instance, 3 and a bit million, go back 10 years ago maybe, now the population is 4 point something million. And where did they come from? Oh yeah, overseas. And is that having any knock-on effect? Yeah, it is. The Ukrainian prostitution racket over there is doing quite well. Street gangs, the rape epidemic is flying. People being beaten up, knife crime, yeah, gang violence, yeah, it's a real thing. Apparently the IRA are quite pissed off. They've had their nose put out of joint. Who'd have thought, eh? There you go. Right, well, I think I've waffled on for about 11 minutes and 26 seconds, long enough. So I shall knock it on the head and wait for every fucker to rock up. Anyway, have yourself a good Friday. I'll speak to you in a bit.